come out." These are the words Jesus spoke to Lazarus, but they echo beyond the tales of a resurrection miracle. They are a divine command for all of us trapped in the necropolis of our trauma. Let's look at the symbolism here, because the story of Lazarus is more than a biblical account. It's a map for healing the fractured pieces of ourselves. 1. Presided over by love. At the heart of the story stands Jesus, the archetype of unconditional love. He weeps at Lazarus' grave, showing us that love sees and feels our pain. But love doesn't stop at empathy. It calls us forward. When we address trauma, we need this guiding presence, whether it's found in a therapist, a friend, a spiritual practice, or within ourselves. Love creates the space for healing to begin by saying, "You are seen. You are worth bringing back to life." 2. Unbinding the grave clothes. Lazarus doesn't rise whole and ready to run free. He's bound, wrapped in the grave clothes of death. Here Jesus commands, "Unbind him and let him go." These bindings are the shame, fear, and survival mechanisms we've layered over our wounds. Often, we can't remove them alone. This is where the community steps in. In our lives, these helpers might be trusted loved ones, mentors, or even the parts of ourselves that we've repressed. Healing trauma isn't solitary work. It requires safe relationships where we can slowly peel away the layers of bondage. And here's the critical part. Lazarus is told to let himself be unbound. There's a cooperative aspect to healing. We must allow others to support us while also taking responsibility for stepping into that vulnerability. 3. Stepping forward into the light. When Jesus calls Lazarus to step out, he's asking him to leave the darkness of the tomb, a space of stasis and death. Trauma often traps us in this same darkness. We hide from the light because it feels too exposing, too vulnerable. But to heal, we must learn to rise. And rising is a decision. It doesn't mean pretending the wounds aren't there. It means choosing to face them, to step forward in spite of the fear. Lazarus' journey is both divine and human. The divine power calls him to life, but the human effort requires him to respond. This mirrors our own healing, grace and effort, hand in hand. 4. Resurrecting the parts of ourselves. The Lazarus story isn't just about physical resurrection. It's about the resurrection of identity, hope, and wholeness. Trauma often kills parts of us. We lose our sense of worth, our ability to trust, our connection to joy. But those parts aren't gone. They're waiting to be called forward, to be unbound and healed. Interestingly enough, in depth psychology, the zombie is symbolic of the unrealized life, the non-self-actualized life. This process is messy and non-linear. Sometimes the grave clothes come off slowly. Sometimes stepping into the light feels blinding. But every step forward is a declaration that we are no longer defined by the tombs we've inhabited. 5. The final call. Let him go. Finally, Jesus' words are a command to the community around Lazarus and to us. Let him go. Healing trauma requires the courage to release not just the bindings, but the identity tied to the trauma. We must free ourselves from the bindings that keep us tethered in the cycles of the past, and we must support others in doing the same. It's a communal act of liberation. In helping others unbind, we often find that we're also unbinding ourselves. A call to resurrection. The story of Lazarus isn't just a story. It's a recipe. Love presides over the process. Community helps unbind us, and we must step forward out of the darkness and into the light. Healing trauma is a resurrection. The reclaiming of the parts of ourselves that were dead, forgotten, or locked away. It's a call to live again, and like Lazarus, we don't do it alone. We do it in the presence of love, with the help of others, and through our own courage to rise. Come out. It's time.